March 8th might not be a day that seems all that important to you. It might not seem like, as a Call of Duty fan, anything that really happened of significance on March 8th ever. Except, there has been one occurrence in which it was the earliest reveal and confirmation of a specific title in the franchise that ever happened. March 8th was that earliest date we'd ever see anything for official promo or anything of the sorts from Call of Duty. And that actually was Black Ops 4, as of March 8th, 2018. 1 year later, we're now basking in what Black Ops 4 has become. Whether you love it or you hate it, it is something that 1 year ago today, the world was officially introduced to what would be Black Ops 4. Now, we didn't know anything in terms of details or gameplay in specific. That came later on in May 17th. But at this point, everyone started speculating what the game would be like, where it would follow in terms of the lore, the campaign, which we thought would still be coming at the time, and so much more. So today, I want to take a look back at 1 year ago, where we were with Black Ops 4, and maybe even think about the discussion, was Black Ops 4 meant to be Black Ops 4? Was it something that maybe in an alternate timeline that given a year and a half to 2 years ago, Black Ops 4 wasn't ever even something to be considered? This is all sheer speculation and something that I kind of want to just have an open discussion with you guys, because I think it's certainly fascinating to think about how the wheels of development may have shifted and changed direction if some of the reported information actually was true, though the finalized product may not necessarily reflect that. But with still some core features missing from Black Ops 4 and things having come so late after launch, now's a better time than ever to discuss maybe the wheels of development did shift and go a different direction than they were initially planned. So today, let's put on our tinfoil hats and talk about whether Black Ops 4 was ever meant to be Black Ops 4. Let's start at the very beginning. The very first introduction that we saw of anything labeled Black Ops 4 came on March 5th of 2018, just 3 days before it was officially revealed to the world. That information came from a GameStop databasing system for their inventory, in which it showcased a ton of different merchandise labeled Black Ops 4. That was something that initially sent the entire gaming world, or especially Call of Duty community, into a whirlwind and frenzy of chaos, with hopeful eyes glued to their screens. 1 day later, we ended up seeing that James Harden of the Houston Rockets ended up being that first official walking promo for Black Ops 4, in which pre-game he walked into the arena with a Black Ops 4 logo embroidered hat. That was something that, again, sent fans into a tizzy of excitement for any information that may be coming out. Then, the following couple of days, we saw some things that previewed the game moving over to Battle.net on PC by linking Battle.net accounts with your Call of Duty account. And then finally, on the 8th, 1 year ago today, we ended up seeing that it was officially revealed via the teaser you'll see on screen right now, in which that teaser confirmed Black Ops 4 as the title, and then also dropped the bombshell that we'd be getting a release in October, and also a community reveal event on May 17th featuring gameplay and all things considered. But outside of that, we didn't really know much for quite some time, up until about a month later in April. That's where the whole idea of, was Black Ops 4 meant to be Black Ops 4? Really came into effect, were something that we heard rumors of developmental problems. Whether or not they were factual or not, that was something that even to this day remains a mystery, but it was something that the idea was there, and it popped the seed of doubt potentially in a lot of players' minds. On April 17th, there were two independent reports that came out, one saying that Polygon says Call of Duty Black Ops 4 will not have a campaign mode, and also a rumor that Raven Software was possibly working on a Battle Royale mode for Black Ops 4. Both of which shocked the community in their own right. Firstly, that Black Ops 4 would have no campaign shocked players because the Black Ops universe was rooted in deep lore and rich history of its narrative. So to not have a standalone or traditional campaign certainly caught a lot of players off guard. And same goes with the introduction of a Battle Royale. It was only a matter of time until Call of Duty put their hat in the ring for a Battle Royale, but a lot of players were up in the air on how they felt about this, especially given the fact that right before this report came out, it was reported that there would be no campaign for Black Ops. But the most intriguing part of all of this comes 2 days later from those reports, and is actually where we can now start to look into, well, was this really meant to be Black Ops 4? While all of this was still unconfirmed rumors at the time, it was corroborated by multiple different sources in the industry from journalists close to games. But basically, Black Ops 4 was reported as before the official reveal on March 8th of last year. Around that time, as being an Overwatch or Lawbreakers clone, where kill streaks weren't kill streaks, where perks were non-existent, but instead you ended up getting different specialist and hero abilities as you ended up progressing through the game. Without going into super detail on all that, it would have been more Overwatch than Call of Duty based off these reports. And again, while still consistently unconfirmed and something that doesn't reflect the finished game and product that we have right now, it's certainly an interesting thought, because this is where we start to get into the idea of, well, it kind of was interesting to see the build that we had at the reveal. It's kind of interesting to see that we're still missing some things, and some things came so late within Black Ops 4, and we saw other key portions scrapped of the game, so was it ever supposed to be Black Ops 4? And to really dive deep into this, we can examine a lot of different things. Firstly, the fact that the Overwatch clone apparently was toned back, to which we see the specialists remain, but they're definitely more annoying and more ramped up in Black Ops 4 compared to Black Ops 3. We saw that around the time of the reveal build, there were definitely copy and pastes of some aspects in the game, such as perks, which if it's on a quick release timetable, that's the easiest way to end up going about that. We ended up seeing a lot of things greatly similar to Black Ops 3, if not identical, but slightly altered in the smallest of ways that almost made Black Ops 4 initially seem like a large-scale expansion for Black Ops 3, with not a lot of different changeover from, say, specialists, but instead them being direct copy and paste nearly of all the Black Ops 3 specialists, save for a couple, with a few additional to fill out the listing and the specialists on offer at launch. So add that in with the confirmed fact that campaign was absolutely scrapped and there was nothing left of it, and it really starts to build that question of, was there a quick turnaround to change the game drastically from what was initially planned, then a hard stop and a change of direction to what we saw at the reveal, the beta, the launch, and then up until today? It certainly is curious, and when you examine it even further, we end up having things like combat records globally and leaderboards globally that are not yet implemented into the game. That's been a staple in Call of Duty since the very beginning of the Black Ops series, and it revolutionized how players tracked their stats, how they cared about their playstyle, and so on and so forth. So to not have that at launch, and even still today, is rather curious. And same thing goes with a ton of content that was missing at launch. I truthfully don't think that Nuketown was initially planned to be a later installment that was later added in November. It could have been, but something tells me it wasn't. Then League Play being delayed and delayed and delayed up until just a few weeks ago at this point was something that players expected that at launch, especially given the fact that we had a League Play system in Black Ops 2 and in Black Ops 3, that sure, there needed to be some slight adjustments, but you'd think that with the core already in place, it would have been there from the very beginning. This sort of thing is very comparable in my mind to the timetable as reminiscent of Infinite Warfare, where the theory, again, that is still unconfirmed and that, like this, we'll probably never know the true answer for, that Infinity Ward was taking the game a completely different direction, and then it was scrapped about halfway through the developmental cycle to when that was when Modern Warfare Remastered was greenlit. It wasn't necessarily damage control, but was a game that would offer a fuller experience, that you got a 2-for-1 instead of one, maybe say, not necessarily complete build. And same thing goes with Infinite Warfare, though I think that looking back, it's not as terrible as people thought it was. The same things persisted, where we didn't have things that were core functionality in regular game modes like leaderboards at launch. So that sort of thing just comes up again as maybe that's the case. So stack up that rumored massive change in the core fundamentals of the gameplay itself, campaign scrapping, the things missing at launch, the things that are a lot of players considering copy and paste from specialists that we saw in Black Ops 3, and then add that in with things that are like, say, plot holes in the storyline and the backstory for different dates, Blackjack being introduced and having his name in events that supposedly take place before he ended up getting his name and that were explained in the Black Ops 3 lore, and there's just a lot of things that don't necessarily line up. And so at the end of the day, of course, none of this will ever change anything, but I think it's an interesting and fascinating thing to take a look back at anything. I'm not trying to make this video as a slam on Treyarch or anything, but it's just, I think, very curious that some of these things don't add up. So it's not me trying to complain or anything or try and voice any chaos, but instead look back that a year ago, we might have gotten something completely different. And to me, that's just absolutely fascinating. Whether it be a completely different IP within the Call of Duty franchise or just Black Ops 4th Advanced Movement, because there's a lot of places in the maps that are definitely reminiscent of being able to wall run. That's something that absolutely is there. Even on just a smaller scale like that, I think it's certainly really interesting to see how this could have played out, if it would have. That said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. A ton of speculation. Again, none of this is in any way, shape, or form confirmed, but I figured since we are at that 1-year mark now since Black Ops 4 was officially revealed to all of us that it would be Black Ops 4, figured it'd be cool to take a look back at some of the reports that also came out around this time as to what Black Ops 4 may have been in an alternate reality. That said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you guys agree that it seemingly is something that had a developmental change somewhere along the line? Do you think it's something that's always been Black Ops 4? Or do you think it might have been something that may not have ever even been named Black Ops 4, but then was again changed somewhere along the developmental process? Love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Anybody at Treyarch, if you guys are watching this again, I mean absolutely no disrespect for it, but I'm just more so fascinated by this entire thing, the developmental process that goes on behind the scenes that we may never absolutely know about. So maybe I'm right, maybe I'm so far off the mark it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but want to talk about this and put my tinfoil hat on. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to stay up to date with all things Black Ops 4 MP, Blackout, Zombies. We got you covered the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best place to get connected from outside of YouTube. I can live on both those, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, let's head out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.